Welcome again, everybody, to All About That Bass, a special space here on TNS, where we're going to be chatting with Nouner, Jesse Pollak, and also lead engineer for the Bass Initiative from Coinbase. Welcome again, Jesse, and thanks again for taking time to chat with us about this today.
Thanks for having me. Long time Noun, long time Noun follower. Acquired my Noun on Christmas of last year, so
Yes,
more recent Noun holder, but super excited to be here.
that's right. Long time lurker, first time caller, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about your noun for a quick second before we jump into the base stuff. Your noun is quite something. First of all, ID 555, which would have been pretty good all on its own, and then it was a Christmas Day noun. And then I do have to pat ourselves on the back here at 9 o'clock because we did FOMO that for you on Christmas Day. We were there ignoring our families on Twitter Spaces, and we were trying to mint something wintry, and I think we succeeded pretty well, minting the very first snowman head. And you sniped that. So why'd you grab that snowman?
Yeah, I've been looking to acquire a noun to become a part of the noun community for a long time. I've been waiting for the right moment, and then I had actually just gotten wrist surgery a few days before, and so I was just hanging out at home on Christmas Day, not really doing anything. And I saw this noun, and it had a few characteristics that I really loved. The first is that it has snowman, and I'm a longtime lover of snow. I'm like an amateur meteorologist. That's what I did growing up in free time. The second thing is that it has a DAO shirt, and I'm a big governance geek, kind of, and thinking a lot about DAOs. And then the third thing is that it has Coinbase blue or base blue glasses. And that just stood out to me. And so having three characteristics that felt like intimately connected to who I am made me feel like now's the right time to do it. So I went for it.
I feel like that happens for a lot of nouners. They're waiting patiently in the wings, and then they just see the right noun that speaks to them, and they just have to cop it. So
Yep,
I love that.
Definitely happened
I
for
actually
me.
pinned above. Awesome. I pinned above actually your thread from, I think it was December 28th, where you talked expanded a little bit about why you wanted to grab this noun about style. Can you talk a little bit about that, in particular, a little bit about the structure of nouns and the tools and sort of culture of nouns and why that appealed to you in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in crypto since 2012. Ran a company for 5 years, kind of working with crypto companies that have been at Coinbase since the beginning of 2016. And I think, particularly in the last maybe like 3 or 4 years, I've just become increasingly fascinated with how we can use crypto in this on-chain platform that's emerging to build new systems that can organize humans better, and give us new superpowers in groups that allow us to accomplish things we've never been able to do before. And that's been like over the last few years, I've spent a lot of time thinking about like how that happens, what the right technology is to do it. I've been a delegate in ENS DAO, which is, I think one of the largest token-based voting DAOs. I've thought a lot about this internally at Coinbase and thought about how we participate. We're also a delegate in the ENS DAO. And I've followed nouns since the beginning. And I think over the last maybe year and a half of nouns maturing, what I've seen is that the level of effectiveness of nouns governance as an on-chain governance system far exceeds pretty much any other on-chain governance system that I've seen. And I think there's a few factors that go into that, but the two that really stand out to me is first, just like the way that nouns has grown. That rather than kind of starting with a massive token distribution or a massive NFT collection distribution, this kind of like daily drumbeat of adding one new person, I think is kind of much more aligned to building the kind of social fabric that's required to effectively govern something or effectively organize, almost like how you grow a company one person at a time. So that's the
Right.
first thing. And then the second thing that I think has really stood out to me is just the reusability of the infrastructure and the prioritization of building open source tooling and open source and CCO brand and everything. I think like has spun off all of this innovation inside of Nouns, whether it's Nouns Builder or Prop House, that has been like a reinforcing loop. And so those two things I think are just like really unique characteristics of Nouns, and make me feel really optimistic about it and make me feel really optimistic about the impact that it will have on the future. And yeah, that's why I joined.
I loved that you talked about the slow burn mechanism of nouns because I feel like that's one of the most important but underappreciated elements of nouns. It's just they zigged when everyone else was zagging. In the pure froth of the 2021 NFT market, everyone was all about 10K PFP, and really there was no reason for that number to exist aside from just that happened to be the number of punks that had been minted. And so it was really cool that they tried something different. And I agree with you that slow start governance model is unique and has a lot of benefits.
Yeah, it's been awesome to see, and super excited to see where it continues to go as Nouns continues to grow.
And to your point too about nouns being sort of a good example of governance in action, I guess is a good way of paraphrasing what you said at the top there. And we get that comment a lot. We tend to host a lot of people from many different communities that are adjacent to nouns, but not necessarily in nouns here on TNS. And we get that comment repeatedly where people say, nouns seems like the only DAO that's DAOing or one of the only few that's actually doing stuff. And sometimes we lose that in the shuffle, maybe a little bit, because there might be some infighting and some arguing about things. And sometimes we forget that that's like what being a DAO is, right? Is actually working these kinks out in real time.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, anyone who's ever worked at a company knows that it's hard working with large numbers of humans, and it gets harder as you grow the number of humans who are working together. And um, you know, uh, friction and conflict is a part of that. And I've actually been, like, 'cause I've seen some crazy stuff at organizations, and I've been, nothing at Nouns has made me feel like it's anything out of the ordinary.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you. Anyone who's just joining, we're speaking today with Jesse Pollak, who is the lead engineer for Coinbase's Base initiative. Super excited to have him here. He's going to talk to us about what Coinbase's plans are for Base and answer any questions that we may have about it. Maybe we could go into a little bit of your background, Jesse, and how you came to Coinbase in the first place. I was reading a little bit up on you, and I guess you had a startup of your own called, is it Clay? Am I pronouncing that right? Is it the French pronunciation or is it?
It's clef. It
Okay.
was not the French pronunciation, but I like that.
Sorry, my
It
Canadian
did.
my
It did.
Canadian is showing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and no, no, no. So Clef was yeah. So I in 2012 started a company called Clef with two other founders. I was in school at the time. Um, uh, but Clef was basically a product that was passwordless authentication. So the idea was, can we make it easier for people to log into websites in a way that's secure and easy to use? And um, we started that in school. I then pretty quickly dropped out, and we ran that business for 5 years. And mostly the customers that we worked with were crypto companies. So in 2014, folks like Bitfinex and BitMEX, the Augur crowd sale, were all customers of Clef. They used us to basically make it easier for their users to log in a secure way. Did that for 5 years. Ultimately, that business didn't work out. I think one of the things that's really interesting about Clef is that we basically built the whole kind of public key infrastructure that now exists in Ethereum, but we did it before that existed. And it didn't work very well for us to just build it for login. But I think what we're seeing now with Ethereum is that once you already have that public key infrastructure, it can enable a ton of things. And so enabling sign in with Ethereum actually looks very similar from a cryptography perspective with what we were doing with Clef, but it's now running on this platform that's purpose built for it. So did that for 5 years. That business didn't work out, and then came to
It,
Coinbase.
it's funny.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to mention, Jesse. It seems like that you were doing that business before 2FA was like a household name, right? And now everybody uses to factor on almost everything to be secure, but maybe you were a little bit before your time when you were working on that, perhaps.
Yeah, it was a little bit before its time in many ways, and that's probably why it wasn't successful. But we learned a lot, made a lot of connections, and built a lot of knowledge in crypto. And when we kind of wound down, when we were trying to figure out how to kind of transition that business down, we actually went through an acqui-hire process with a bunch of different companies. And Coinbase was one of them. I'd gotten to know the Coinbase team over those years. I actually pitched Clef to Brian via email over 2012. He was like, "Not right now," but had built a relationship with him and this guy
So
Olaf Carlson Wee, who was employee number one, and we basically went through an acquihire process, and my whole team actually ended up selling to Optimism. I mean, not to Optimism, to Twilio. But I was so excited about Coinbase. They made an offer to acquire all of us, but I just kind of carved out my portion of that offer and joined them. So that was the beginning of 2017.
very cool. So I haven't heard that term before, acquihire, but I can use my context clues. I'm assuming it means where they basically just buy the talent.
Yeah, exactly. So the business wasn't working, and there wasn't really a market for acquiring it, and so they were just looking to acquire the talent.
Very cool. All right, so you ended up at Coinbase, and that was circa like 2020, I believe, or before.
That was in the beginning of 2017.
Okay,
So I
very cool.
joined Coinbase in like March 2017, kind of right as that bull market was getting started. It was still really early. I think the price of Ethereum was like $7 when I joined. I joined as an engineer and was working kind of on Coinbase.com on the front end and back end, and basically then spent the next 4.5 years kind of growing Coinbase. Pretty quickly in 2017, I think like May of 2017, I transitioned into a role where I was managing engineers and supporting their growth and supporting the kind of like broader team. And then over the next 4.5 years, I gradually grew into a role where I was kind of leading engineering across Coinbase, Coinbase Pro, and Coinbase Wallet. So all of our consumer facing products. Which was, massive learning experience. I went from working with a team of kind of 3 people to a team of 200 something people over 4.5 years, and it felt like my job changed every 6 months.
Yeah, and I bet it was a much different experience during the depths of that bear market compared to the froth of 2021 and then back again. So you've kind of seen it all.
Yep. Seen it all. Yeah, we did the bull run in 2017, the beginning, yeah, 2017 really. Then we had the bear market of 2018, 2019. Then we got to see the next bull run 2020, 21, and then we are, I like to say we're in a builder market right now because it's very different right
We're in
now than
a base market, right, Jesse?
yeah, we're in a base market. Very different than the bear market of 2018 and 2019, which was just so brutal because there really was very little going on from a builder and innovation perspective. There were seedlings, but none of it was really working. Whereas versus today, there's so many interesting projects being built. There are so many smart people innovating, and there's so much real utility that people are finding with crypto. And so, yes, in a bear market,
Yeah.
but it's an
I've
exciting one.
I've heard a lot of survivors of that 2018 bear market make that comment, like the guys from Bankless in particular, comparing the two bear markets and about how, the 2018 bear market, like you said, people were really giving up on crypto altogether. Like maybe this actually isn't going to make it, like maybe an NGMI, right? But now people are just kind of hunkering down and building more. So it feels like.
Yep. Hunkering down and building. That's very much the ethos we've had over the last year. It's like the bear market is the best time to put your head down and just build, build, build.
Awesome. So you guys have been building, and you made the announcement last month that you will be introducing Base, which is a new layer 2 Ethereum chain, EVM compatible, and built on top of Optimism. What does that mean to the layperson?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I kind of led all of our consumer facing businesses at Coinbase, starting in kind of the end of 2021, I transitioned into a new role. And that role was basically, I kind of had a single mandate. And that mandate was figure out how do we bring Coinbase on chain. Now, what does that mean? If you think about Coinbase, Coinbase was started in 2012, before Ethereum existed, before smart contracts existed, and it was really a place where you could buy Bitcoin. And then over the last decade, we've added more assets. We've expanded a bunch of the functionality we offer, but a ton of our infrastructure and really the core experiences that people use today for the most part on Coinbase are still very much off chain. They're centralized, they're custodial, and I think my mandate basically became figure out how to transition that, figure out like what it's going to take over the next few years or decade to bring our users, our products, our assets from those off-chain centralized custodial contexts into on-chain decentralized transparent context. And we've started to do this with Coinbase Wallet and USDC and CBETH. But my goal became basically figure out how to do it more, figure out how to accelerate it. And Base is basically the accelerant that we think is going to enable this transition. And what that means is Base is a platform where anyone can build an application, a decentralized application or DApp. And it's incredibly easy to do that. And then when you build that DApp, it's going to be incredibly easy for any user to use it because Base is going to be deeply integrated into Coinbase, into Coinbase Wallet, into all the Coinbase services, and they're just going to make L2 work. And so our goal with Base is to bring the next million builders and creators on chain who will create the incredibly useful applications that then attract the next billion users on chain. And I think that's going to happen pretty fast. So super excited about what we've built. We've built it in a way that's open source, that's decentralized, that builds on the values of Ethereum, that I think builds on the values of Nouns in many ways. And I think we've seen an incredible response, but we also have more work to do to get this to mainnet and to kind of bring those next billion people on chain.
That's amazing. That all sounds really great, and we've been talking about this a lot on our daily show, in leading up to today's show. And one thing we've been mentioning a lot is that it's really great to see that Coinbase made the decision to take steps towards a decentralized layer two, at least eventually, by doing this sort of a base infrastructure on top of Optimism when you could have gone a different route. And maybe we could talk about that for a minute. If we look at some of the other the space like Binance, Binance obviously has their centralized chain BNB, and then even FTX, which is no longer around to defend itself, so we won't punch too far below the belt. But with Solana and the Sam coins, obviously not working out so well. Why did Coinbase choose to go the base route?
Yeah, and we, interestingly enough, we'd actually looked at building a chain 2 times before Base. The first time in 2018, and then the second time in 2020. And both times we decided not to build a chain. And the reason we decided not to was because we didn't feel like we could do that in a way that really lived up to the values that we care about. Things like decentralization, things like the platform that we build being open to everyone and accessible. And I think the thing that really shifted in 2022 as kind of Ethereum L2 started being built was that it felt like we could do that. And that's what we tried to do with Base. One of our values, I guess two of our values I guess all of our values are relevant here, but the 3 big values that we have are, the first one is Base is a bridge, not an island, which basically means we don't want Base to be a silo. We want Base to be deeply interconnected to the broader crypto economy, and we want users to come off-chain to on-chain on Base, but then go anywhere. And so that's why we've built Base as an Ethereum L2, so that's by default connected to the broader Ethereum ecosystem. It's also why we've built on the OP stack, which is going to be this powerful toolkit that enables interoperability between L2s. And it's also why we've prioritized working with other L1 ecosystems, even folks like Solana, Avalanche, to make sure that folks can move from Base to those ecosystems as they choose. So that was the first one. The second value is Base is decentralized and open source. This is about leaning into Ethereum, using that platform for decentralization. It's about building on the OP stack in collaboration with Optimism so that the work that Coinbase is doing is not just benefiting Coinbase, it's actually investing in an open source, freely available MIT licensed toolkit that anyone can use to run a chain. And that looks like Ethereum and looks like the clients of Ethereum and actually builds on the hard work of the clients of Ethereum. So that's the second one. And then I'd say the third one is that Base is for everyone. And this is a really important one to me. Base is not just for Coinbase, it's for every company. Base is not just for DeFi, it's for every kind of creator, NFTs, social, gaming. Base is not just for the United States, it's for people in every country. And I think the way we can do that is by building on a platform that's as global, as accessible as Ethereum.
Awesome. Um, so in terms of partnering with an L2, obviously Optimism was one option, and you talked a little bit about why that would be. But is there a specific reason why you guys chose to work with the Optimism team instead of something like Arbitrum or Polygon or one of the other L2s? Or
Yeah,
was it just a working
absolutely.
relationship you have?
And I think, the first thing that I'll say is my general perspective is like, we're going to be working with everyone. Scaling Ethereum is going to take a village. And the pie is so big. Today there are low millions of people who actually use crypto on a day-to-day business. And my expectation is that over the next 5 years, we'll get to billions of people. And so that's going to require a ton of different strategies. It's going to require a
The
ton of
fact that it's not
collaboration.
even in the billions yet is just crazy to me when you hear that.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. But so much growth ahead, and we have relationships and are excited to collaborate with everyone. In terms of why we decided to build on the OP stack and with Optimism specifically, there are a number of reasons. The first one was really a technology choice. The OP stack is built to be modular, which means that kind of as technology improves on certain axes, for instance, like how the chain is secured with a prover, as ZK EVMs mature, for instance, because the way the OP stack works, we're going to be able to swap in the best technology as it becomes available. And so what that means is Base is going to start as a roll-up that's proved with an optimistic prover. But as soon as those ZK EVMs mature, we're going to be able to actually swap in or layer in additionally a ZK prover. And I think that kind of modularity, the flexibility was super important to us. The second thing that was really important to us was the approach that Optimism has taken around open source. Like I said, one of our values has been decentralized and open source. We believe that these platforms must look a lot like Ethereum in that openness, in that open sourceness, and Optimism has prioritized that from the beginning. The third is, I think, like from a complement perspective, Coinbase is a kind of centralized, large Fortune 500 company with a ton of distribution, but also like we aren't the experts at decentralization. It's something we're still trying to figure out how to do. And I think on the other side, Optimism, I think, has been a leader in decentralization. They've been a leader in figuring out how do you do on-chain governance. If there's anyone who I think is doing governance in a as interesting and powerful way as Nouns, it's Optimism with their kind of bicameral governance system with the token house and the citizens house. And so I think working with Optimism felt like an opportunity to bring in a team that was very complementary to us, that would kind of accentuate our strengths. So that was the third reason. And then the fourth reason was we've actually been working with Optimism before Base on scaling Ethereum. In particular, this project called EIP 4844, which is an upgrade to Ethereum that's going to ship this summer and will enable or drive down the costs of layer twos like Base and Optimism Mainnet and Arbitrum by another kind of 10 to 20x. And we started working with Optimism.
Is that proto dank sharding?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, that's proto dank sharding. Exactly.
Really cool.
Yeah. So we started. Go for it.
No, I just said that's exciting. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And we started working with Optimism on it at the beginning of 2022. And so by the time we were kind of decided to build an L2, we'd had a lot of experience working with them on Ethereum. And I think this is one of the things that I've seen kind of happen again and again, is that starting working on Ethereum together is this really powerful context that enables folks to then find other opportunities for collaboration.
I feel like that's true within Nouns as well. We give people that advice all the time when they come into this ecosystem and they're trying to figure out what to build and who to build it with. And yeah, it's just, find other like-minded people and start building with them, and you'll find ways to build and things to build. So I'm not surprised to hear that you guys had kind of a pre-existing
Yep.
building relationship before.
Nothing like just creating together to be a context for finding other opportunities for collaboration.
And so, speaking of creating together, I believe, if I understand correctly, you guys are actually coming on as a secondary core developer team, right? For Optimism, so you'll actually be sort of there'll be a bit of a flywheel happening, I guess, with that.
Yep, absolutely. So we're joining as the second core developer of the OP stack, which is the kind of technology toolkit that powers Optimism mainnet and base. And so we're actually taking Coinbase's engineering resources. I'm getting to work with a bunch of people who I've been working with for 6 years now at Coinbase to invest in that technology stack, make it more secure, more scalable, more decentralized, and basically make it so rather than our resources going off into a silo that just serves Coinbase, our resources go into this platform that's going to make Optimism mainnet better, going to make Base better, and going to make all the other chains that are gradually built on the OP stack more secure, more decentralized, and more scalable.
Teddy, you're muted.
That would help. That would help.
Yeah, I was like, did I lose my internet?
I'm sitting here going like, am I wrong? Like, what?
You should have heard what I said. It was really great. I'll never be able to say it that way again. But no, actually, what I was doing is I was actually trying to reset the room for a second because I saw quite a few people have joined over the last 10 minutes or so. So just wanted to remind everyone that we're talking here with Jesse Pollak from Coinbase about Base, the new L2 coming from that team. And Jesse leads that team, and he's been giving us lots of awesome information about how that rollout is going to go. If you're just joining us, please retweet the room so your friends can come join us as well. We are giving away a little noun that is, let's just say it's in the style of Jesse's big noun. Unfortunately, we weren't able to cop a snowman little noun, and the reason for that is there's literally only been one snowman little noun that's ever been minted in the history of little nouns. I don't know why it's so rare, but we had to go for the snow globe. I hope that's okay, Jesse.
I love it. I'll accept that.
I will point out, though, if you look at the snow globe, doesn't his shirt kind of look like the Base logo a little bit? It's not. It's like the all-seeing eye or whatever, but it kind of looks like the Base logo.
He does. He kind of does. I like
He's
it.
up in the nest there if you don't see
It's
him.
like a rotated Base logo, but we have a lot of animations
Anyway,
that rotate
one lucky
the Base
retweeter
logo.
of the room today is going to take home that little guy, little snowy noun. So coming back to you, Jesse. So we've talked about ways to optimism. Maybe the next question would be why now? Why was now the right time for this for Coinbase?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really does feel like now is the perfect time for this. One thing I've been saying to a lot of people is it's felt for a while like there are really three big infrastructure challenges that need to get solved before we could have mainstream adoption. The first is, I think, cost of using these chains and cost of accessing this incredibly vibrant ecosystem of applications that are on Ethereum. Historically, it's just been too expensive. Like for most people in the world, it's not viable to pay $2 or $3 or $5 or $10 or $20 to do something. But all of the, I think, most powerful applications are currently that expensive when they're running on Ethereum. And so I think right now with layer twos, we're seeing a 10x reduction with EIP 4844 or proto dank sharding, which is going to ship this summer. We're going to see another 10x reduction. And I think that means that this year we will see kind of sub-cent transactions to access all of the apps that people love on Ethereum. So that's the first thing that I think makes now the right moment. The second thing I think is really about wallets. I think historically it's been too hard to use crypto from a wallet perspective, but a lot of that's changing. I don't know if folks have used Coinbase Wallet or they've used the Web3 tab in the Coinbase app, or they've used even apps like Rainbow. But I think wallets have just gotten that much better over the last few years, where today most people can use them to do most of the things that they care about. Now, there's still a lot more work that needs to go into that from a security perspective. I'm really excited about account abstraction and the impact that that's going to make. But it feels like wallets are finally ready to start reaching the next scale of users. And then I'd say the third one, and this is one that I think we still have a lot more work on, but we're seeing good signs, is identity. I think still today on chain, it's too hard to know who people are, and that makes it really hard to build products that really work for them. And I think this year we will see, we already are seeing with things like Gitcoin Passport, but I think we will see on Base basically tools that make it more possible for people to be themselves on chain, which then allows even better products. And so I'd say those three things: the costs coming down, the wallets getting better, and the identity infrastructure finally being able to represent who people are, make this moment really like an inflection point where it feels like for the first time there actually is a path to bringing millions, then tens of millions, and hundreds of millions, and billions of people on chain. And that's why we're launching Base. Our bet here is basically if we make Base, we make it really easy for creators to build, and then we make it really easy for people to use those applications through the tried and true Coinbase and Coinbase wallet experiences that people already love. That's going to actually be this experience that billions of people can use. And so I couldn't be more excited. I feel like we've been waiting for this for almost a decade at this point, but the pieces are finally in place.
Very cool. I'm going to do a test here to make sure you can hear me because I got royally rugged while you were answering that. But interestingly enough, I could still hear you, even though my Twitter app was going rogue. So I'm glad.
Did you get the thing where like you hear everything really fast, like it speeds up?
No, it wasn't that, but I was stuck on mute and then I left and came back. But even though the app was closed, I could still hear Jesse. Fun things. We'd love to speak to the devs of Twitter and find out the mysteries of how
it was Twitter was just letting you know that you can't miss this alpha right now. Like they would not letting you miss this good information.
That's right. It's like, this is really important stuff. Awesome. Okay, well, I have another question here that actually came from one of the members of our community, and I've got a few questions actually that people put in a thread that they wanted to ask about Base. One of the questions that I thought was interesting is, what is the plan to decentralize Base over time? Because I understand, obviously, if this is a Coinbase project, at least initially, probably all the validators will be Coinbase in-house. Is there a plan to kind of decentralize that eventually?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, one of our core values as a team is decentralized and open source. In general, rollups layer twos have been working on decentralizing as quickly as possible. Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum, kind of has created this framework of a phase 0, phase 1, and phase 2 rollup. And our expectation is that we're going to, and what those phases basically correspond to is their level of decentralization. And so phase 0 has a lot of training wheels, which basically means that it's less decentralized because that's the way it can run safely before it has all those kind of systems in place. A phase 1 removes most of those training wheels, but still has some, and then a phase 2 has no training wheels. And so the first, when we launch Base initially, it will be a phase 0 rollup, which means it will have a lot of training wheels. This is something that we're comfortable with, but also something that we want to get out of as quickly as possible. And so our goal is to get Base from being a phase 0 to a phase 1 rollup this year, and then work towards it being a phase 2 rollup in 2024. And that is very possible based on all of the work we're doing right now in the OP stack in collaboration with Optimism. So our plan basically is to launch Base and then continue pushing forward that roadmap and making it happen as quickly as, and safely, I think importantly, as possible.
What does it look like for developers who build on Base compared to if they built just on OP or on another layer 2? Can you talk a little bit about sort of how that will compare?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is it's going to look really similar. From a tooling perspective, Base is EVM equivalent. We literally use the same code base, Geth, to run the transactions. And so if you have built applications that are deployed on Ethereum or are deployed on Optimism or deployed on Arbitrum, they will deploy out of the box with no changes on Base. So I think that kind of consistency and parity and alignment to Ethereum is super important. I think the thing that is going to be really different for folks that are building on Base is the scale and distribution that we're going to be able to bring into those applications. In particular, like if you think about what Coinbase's superpowers are, we have something like 100 million verified users. We have something like 90 billion dollars worth of funds, and our goal is to bring all those things on chain. And so we are building Base deeply integrated into Coinbase and Coinbase Wallet and the Coinbase Web3 tab, and we're going to be building experiences that make it just incredibly easy for users to use applications on Base. And I think the hope that I have about this is that right now, if you look at the way most people use apps in crypto, it's like, I want to use this app, then let me make a complex infrastructure decision about where I run this app. Do I want to run it on AWS or GCP? That's an analogy, but like, do I want to run it on Optimism or Ethereum or Arbitrum or Polygon? And I think for the very small percentage of users who use crypto every day, that might be workable. But for the everyday person who just wants to do the thing they're trying to do, I think it's just incredibly complex. And so our goal with Base is to basically just provide a really safe, easy to use, low cost default across Coinbase experiences that makes L2 just work. And I think that's going to have a really big impact on making it so that when people build on Base, they're not just building for themselves, but they're actually building for millions of users and increasingly billions of users that Coinbase is going to funnel into them.
I'm a little rugged on my end.
We hear you.
We can hear you.
No, I couldn't hear you guys. That was a problem.
You're back.
Anyways,
now.
I heard the last of it. We're back. Twitter Spaces, best possible platform. Yeah,
best platform.
Best platform. We love it. Tell me a little bit about the decision to use ETH as the native token for Base. That was a question that came up a couple times from our community. By comparison, many of the other L2s have their own tokens. OP itself has its own token. Polygon has Matic. Arbitrum just launched their token. But Base will actually just use ETH. Why is that?
Yeah. And I think, worth noting that at least on Optimism and Arbitrum, even though they have their own tokens now, that token isn't actually used as the primary token on the network. They both have ETH for gas fees and ETH as the native asset. And right. That's the same approach that we're taking. We're using ETH for gas fees, ETH as the native asset. We do not have a plan to issue a token. We think that we can basically make Base work really well for developers and for users without a token. And the reason why we've decided to use ETH is because Base is fundamentally a part of Ethereum. It's an Ethereum L2. We are going to pay for the block space that our users use on Base. We're going to pay Ethereum for that in Ethereum. And I think being aligned to that ecosystem, having our cost structure set up in Ethereum makes a ton of sense for us. And so that's what we're doing from a kind of native asset perspective. Now, I think one of the things that I expect to, that I think is shifting right now is that with infrastructure like account abstraction and smart contract wallets, you're going to be able to pay gas in whatever currency you want. And so even if the underlying native asset of the chain is Ethereum, that's not going to stop applications from making it so you can pay for gas in USDC, or you can pay for gas in DAI, or you can pay for gas in whatever currency you choose. And I think that's going to be this really powerful unlock where increasingly for users, they just have to think a lot less about, do I have the right amount of gas? Do I have gas in the right currency? And instead they get to think a lot more about like, do I love this application? And if so, I can use it.
Is that something that's going to be possible with ERC 4337 or a future account abstraction.
Yeah, it's already possible even without ERC 4337. It's going to become easier and more standardized with ERC 4337. But yeah, this idea of kind of having a paymaster relayer that accepts gas in any currency, totally possible. We're already starting to see it happen. Like if you think about something like if folks have seen like Avocado or the Instadap product that they just launched. That is, they're using kind of this infrastructure to make it so you can pay for gas on any chain in USDC. I think we're just at the kind of very beginning of basically people using this new infrastructure to make it so the native gas fee on the network becomes just less and less of something that the users need to be thinking about.
That's really cool. I hadn't actually heard account abstraction talked about in that lens before, so that's pretty exciting as well.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's going to make it better wallets that are more secure, easier to use, more trustworthy.
I also liked how you answered the question about the token being ETH and comparing it to the OP token or Arbitrum token and those being governance tokens. And I guess just remembering that Coinbase is still a company and not a DAO, so I guess no need for a governance token.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at the governance of Coinbase, it's currently governed by coin holders. We're really excited to be building Base and excited to be decentralizing Base over time and be excited to make sure that we're kind of working closely with Coinbase to do that.
All right, you heard it here first, guys. The airdrop was coin stock the whole time.
No comment. Again, I just want to make it really, really clear to everyone. We don't have plans for a token. There are no plans for token. There's no Base token. If you want to, no plans for token.
About Brian's secret master plan. What is that? I've heard you mention it a couple times.
Yeah, that's a great document. So it's the Coinbase secret master plan. If you Google that, it'll come up as the first result. This is basically a blog post that Brian wrote in 2016, which honestly just blows my mind every time I say that. But in 2016, Brian basically said, look, our secret master plan at Coinbase is to build a crypto economy. We think that's going to happen in 4 phases. The first phase is we're going to create the protocols, and that's things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, or help create or support the creation of those protocols. The second phase is we're going to create an exchange, which lets people bring money into those protocols. That's Coinbase Exchange. The third phase is we're going to build consumer interfaces that lets users actually access applications on those protocols. That's Coinbase Wallet. That's the Web3 tab in the Coinbase app. And then the fourth phase is we're going to support the growth of millions of applications that billions of people use. You wrote that in 2016. And at this point, we've progressed through phases 1 through 3, but we still aren't at that phase 4 where there's millions of applications, billions of users. And so I think we are increasingly thinking about Base, or we think about Base as phase 3.5, where it is the platform on top of which those millions of applications can be built that then enable those billions of users to come on chain. And so I just think it's remarkable, honestly, that Brian was kind of like that prescient about how the future was going to shape up 7 years ago, and that we've kind of progressed along that path for the last 7 years, and that we're almost at the finish line, where I really think in the next 1 to 2 years, we are going to hit the inflection point where it just becomes obvious that billions of people are going to be on chain, just like billions of people are online, because it's better experiences, it's lower cost, it's more accessible, and it just gives them a better life. That has more economic freedom than they have in the legacy financial system. So that's what the secret master plan is.
I love that. Definitely a lot of foresight to write that in 2016.
Yeah, I mean, we're so lucky, like both at Coinbase, but also in the industry broadly, to have Brian Armstrong, fighting this, just like being a leader. He really is a visionary, and super, super grateful to get to have gotten to work with him over the last 6 years.
Yeah, and another topic for another space with Brian standing up to the SEC and everything that's happening here, but obviously not something we can dive into a rabbit hole on today.
Yeah, we'll have to get Brian on the Noun Square one of these days to talk about that. Maybe when Nouns hits like 5,000, we'll be able to get Brian on here. He's a busy man, but I know if he had infinite time, he would definitely be here.
Well, when he's ready, we're ready, Brian. You just slide into our DMs. We'd be happy to host you. Maybe as we start to wind down here, we always like to keep our spaces close to an hour out of respect for everyone's time, especially our guests. Would like to open it up to questions from anyone on the stage or if you're in the audience. And I also have a few questions that people have given us in a thread earlier today and yesterday that I wanted to throw over at Jesse too. But I'll do that, interdisperse those with any questions from anyone might have on the stage. So let's start with Joshua Fisher. He's got his hands up, and then a few people have requested to come up. Go ahead, Joshua.
Thanks, Tody. Jesse, something that I've been asking people, and I'm curious from your perspective, is what is something that Nouns could do that would blow your mind?
What is something that Nouns could do that would blow my mind?
Like for some people, let's say like for me, when I first found Nouns, I'm like, oh my God, I want a movie, right? Like I want a Nouns movie would be so cool. And now we're making like, at least on our way to making one movie, we're making tons of animation.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like that's happening. And hopefully that'll come out and we'll all be like super surprised. But what's something that like, if you heard about it and you were like, wait, that Nouns is doing that? Oh my goodness. What?
Yeah, I mean, like I've been thinking a lot about this in the context of Base and Coinbase, so maybe I'll like this is a little biased, but I think like if I think about some of the biggest brands in the world, folks like Disney or Hello Kitty, it's like they've put a product in the hands of billions of people, like literally billions of people own something that's Mickey Mouse probably, and I think that's the thing that's going to blow my mind with Nouns. It's like getting Nouns and some form of Nouns into the hands of first 1 million people, then 10 million people, then 100 million people, then 1 billion people. And I think it's possible. I think it's going to take a lot of hard work, but I feel like we're heading in the right direction. My thinking, like one thought I have is that L2 can be a big part of this. Like if we can figure out how do we get like Nouns or some Nouns derivative on L2 in like the user journey of people just coming on chain and make this like the friendly hello to being on chain that anyone can engage with. I think that would be just incredibly powerful and could be an incredible way of getting the Nouns, getting something nounish into the hands of billions of people.
So you've got my my wheels cranking in my brain here because this is something I've thought about before. But we have a collection here at the Noun Square called Nomos. We mint them every day after FOMO, and the idea is that the nouns that we weren't able to save and mint as the noun of the day, we save one of those and mint it as the Nomo of the day. It's super fun, very nounish game, and just ultimately a nounish collection because they are nouns just with a special background. I wonder if there's room for thought for us maybe to look at moving those over to Base and having them as a more accessible, less expensive on the gas side, and like you said, a really great way to introduce new folks to Nouns. What do you think about that?
I love that.
Dude,
I think that'd be freaking epic.
All right.
It'd be epic.
Let's go.
Let's go. Here we go. We're inventing on live on the Noun Square. You heard it here first.
Live on the Noun Square.
I don't know if y'all are the experts with that product. You have to decide whether that makes sense. But there's something here. There's like some Nouns derivative that we could put in the hands of every crypto user that people would love and cherish and would feel connected to, and would feel just happy because they had it. And I think it's going to happen on L2, and would love to support anything related to that over the next many months.
The synthetic nouns idea kind of can play into that cool and somehow too, where like the traits are associated to your wallet.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like we could make it so like anyone can mint a synthetic noun that looks like their wallet. It's connected to their wallet, and it's free, or it's very, very low cost. So much to do.
All right, you got all of our wheels spinning now. We'll get in your DMs about that one for sure.
Please do. And if you go into the Coinbase app today, or Coinbase wallet, there's already the real estate for us to start experimenting with this. Like if you open up Coinbase wallet and you go to I think, I don't know. There's some, I don't know. It's somewhere in here. Oh, there's like an explore tab where you can do like kind of some free minting. And I could totally imagine us having a noun in there. It's like, here's your first free mint. Here's your first NFT.
Yeah, I think that's really important. We've had Mike on
yes,
from
please.
We've had Mike on from Rainbow as well. Obviously, you know, they build a wallet too, and we've talked a little bit about that too, about how it's so important to onboard people and like get them hooked on the NFTs too, because it's such a great and fun way to learn about, you know, how you can interact and transact on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yep. I think NFTs are going to be like the entry point for lots of people, like almost everyone, honestly. Like it's just there's something intuitive about like, oh, now I have this thing, it's mine, and it can be free or very, very, very low cost in a way that like money isn't. And so I think a lot of people are going to get onboarded with an NFT and then will like explore and expand their relationship with crypto to money.
I agree, and when you like when it clicks that you do own it, there is like it is something different. Like when it's your wallet, and some of like the setting up and understanding the tech like is going to continue to get easier and easier. But like when you know that like, okay, but it actually does point to me and only me, in this public way, and it's like it's a unique experience to own digital items.
Yeah, it's epic.
We've got a couple more folks who have come up on stage to ask questions. Let's go to Linnea. Linnea Inu, you have a question about Base? Linnea, are you there? All right. Captain Me. Captain Me, are you there? Am I rugged? Can you guys hear me?
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
I love how Twitter just gives you an existential crisis every 5 minutes. You don't even know if you're rugged or someone else is rugged. Captain, are you there? You're muted, so we can't hear you if you are.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Do you have a question for Jesse?
I want to speak about one issue about Discord base.
Oh, you've muted yourself there again. Oh, and he's off.
Disconnected.
Twitter's being especially fun today. So
it was a good shot.
It was good. That's what we call a cliffhanger. Tune in tomorrow to find out what Captain's question is. Now, Linnea, are you there? We'll try one more time to go to Linnea. Otherwise, I have a couple community questions here that I can come to. Linnea, going once, going twice. Linnea, are you there?
Doesn't look like it.
All right.
Let's jump to the community questions.
Let's do it. All right. So one of the community questions, let's see here. Oh, and I'm actually glad that he asked this because this is one that I wanted to ask that I forgot to ask. So Pirate Kings or @PinnyMe asks, in one of Base's tweets, there's a tweet that talks about the vision for scaling Ethereum with the super chain. What is the super chain? And I know that's an optimism term. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah. It's so the super chain is basically this vision that rather than there being kind of one chain in the future or one L2 in the future that scales Ethereum, there will be many of them that kind of work together to scale Ethereum. And the way that will work is basically there will be shared software that enables them to interoperate and work together so that for a user, it feels like you're just using your applications, but in the back end, there's a bunch of different chains that are powering that. And I think this is actually kind of similar to the way the internet works today. Like when you use the internet, you get routed through a bunch of different kind of tiers of ISPs, but none of that's visible to you. And I expect that's where we're going to end up from a crypto perspective, that you'll get routed through a bunch of different chains, but none of it will be visible to you. And so the way we're kind of investing in making the super chain happen is with the OP stack. It's kind of the open source toolkit, shared software that's going to make it possible for all these chains to work together and scale Ethereum together.
Great answer, Jesse. We've got another person
When you
who's
say
come up
OP
on stage. Sure, yeah. Can you clarify what the OP stack means?
Yeah, absolutely. So the OP stack is basically an open source code base. Kind of like you might think about it in like the same way that nouns, the smart contracts that power nouns, are an open source code base, and that led to people being able to create Nouns Builder and other Nouns DAOs that use the same code, but have slightly different configurations and slightly different focuses. And so the OP stack is like that, but for running a chain. And so Base is running on the OP stack. Optimism Mainnet was the first chain on the OP stack. And we expect that over the next few years, there will be many, many, many more chains over the next built on the OP stack.
How do those chains each other on the super chain? Like, would you need to bridge from one to the other, or will it be the same as if the assets were on Base as if they were on OP, for example?
Yeah. So to start, these chains are going to be more separate. So they're going to look like just like two chains staying next to each other, and you'll need to bridge between them, but they'll be powered by the same code base. And then our goal and plan and the work that we're doing now is basically to converge them so that they increasingly work together and interoperate. And so that's going to take some time, but really confident that we're going to be able to make a ton of progress there pretty quickly.
That's awesome. We've got Catch22 up here. Did you have a question about Base, Catch?
Hey, yeah, I did. How are you guys? Thanks for having me up.
Doing great. Thanks for joining.
Doing great.
Yeah, Jesse, what's up? Dude, I love this space here going on. I was like requesting to Jesse and begging him, dude, like I love the nouns idea and all the nouns derivatives, I also love the nouns esports thing. I'm into that or whatever because I really love games or whatever, but dude, you guys need to do a blue nouns drop, just like Jesse is saying. Even if it was like even if it was like a cheap like gas thing, like I would love to mint it, even if it was just on ETH, dude. Like that would be super cool. And then did you guys give away the NFT already? Because dude, I'm about to beg for it.
Well, we are no plans.
Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna let Toady handle the NFT. No plans currently for the L2 nouns, but it sounds like we got some ideas working here.
Keyword currently.
Yeah, not yet. So hopefully soon. Keep your eyes out.
Well, I mean, the point is it's open source, right? So anyone who wants to make nouns on Base,
anyone can build it.
Source, and nouns is open source. Yeah, be the change you want to see in the world. Catch22. I'll be your first.
Be the change you want to see. Amazing.
Yeah, all right. I just wanted to say what's up. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for asking the question.
Give me.
Yeah, Toady, I'm gonna let you close this out.
Yeah, I really appreciate you joining us today here, Jesse. It was super fun to hear all about Base. And if people have other questions and whatnot, where can they go to find out more about Base and get those questions?
Yeah, amazing. So thank you all for attending. I think we're up to 70 people, which is incredible. So grateful for your time and attention. If you want to get started building on Base, you can do that today at base.org. Our testnet's live. We're working towards mainnet as soon as possible. If you have questions, you can join the Base Discord. There's a link at base.org, or you can tweet at me. If you need Base Girly ETH, i.e. the testnet Ethereum, to start deploying applications on Base, you can also just tweet at me or DM me and I'll send you some. So thanks everyone for coming, and build on Base.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Jesse. All right, we've got a couple little things to take care of here, but Jesse, if you need to jump, totally understand. You're a busy guy. You got to get Base rolled out. You got some things to do. I really appreciate
you up on that real quick.
I think he was on his way out, but I appreciate Jesse joining us here today, and appreciate everybody for joining us. If you've enjoyed the show here today, don't worry, we're gonna do the giveaways here in a moment. We got 0.069 ETH times 2 for 2 people that asked a question for Jesse, and we were able to get some of those answered today and retweeted the space yesterday. So I've got 2 winners for that draw, and then of course for the actual space that we're in right now, going to do a draw here for someone to win a little noun, a little snow globe noun, who retweeted the room. Thank you very much for getting the word out there so others could come and listen. If you're new here and you're not aware of what we do here, we are the Noun Square. We're a group of folks who love nouns, who love CC0. We like to make entertaining and educational content about nouns, CC0, NFTs, and generally permissionless creation. We do about 35 spaces a week on average, including our flagship space, which happens once a day. That happens right at the end of the Nouns DAO daily auction. We get together, we have fun, we choose the next noun of the day. We mint the Nomo nouns that I was talking about to you earlier. And then we've got tons of other spaces throughout the week for sub DAOs and sub movements like Little Nouns, Nourish DAO, Food Nouns, and also we have some sort of nouns adjacent communities like Jack Butcher's Checks VV, UmaDAO, etc. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you, and you like art contests and draws and other fun things too, give us a follow here on the clock and keep abreast of everything that we do. I'll go to you quickly, X. We don't have a lot of time here before we wind down, but if you have something quick, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. Really great space. Is Jesse still here? I wanted to ask.
No, he had a hard stop at 4:30, so he did have to jump, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
no
if you give us a question, I can relay it to him. How's that?
Yeah. I mean, I just DM'd him about the documentation. I'd love to kind of like explore base and how to build on it. But yeah, I'm very into the front end stuff and the user experience. So I guess like my question, for him was like how I could like contribute as a front end person. I think it'll be interesting to see how the use cases for base, but yeah, certainly like in terms of user experience, what are the plans of like onboarding, like you said, but also just in terms of like how you could build on top of it, like in terms of like what he said about apps. I talked earlier about side events for the hack week, so I thought it'd be interesting to see how what kind of apps they are looking for specifically around like onboarding and about user experience. But yeah, love the conversation. It sounds really cool. I'd love to see nouns being built on top of it, like nounish culture and nounish stuff built on top of it. So yeah, thanks so much.
Well, we've also been talking internally about the potential of moving Nomo to a layer 2 if the opportunity ever presented itself, just because we do try to keep Nomo pretty cheap. It's only like $12 to mint every day to help us continue to do what we do here at TNS. And it gets a little tough for people when they're paying $17 in gas sometimes to mint something that's $10. So it's definitely a conversation that's come up before, and maybe opening this line with Jesse will be something for us to follow up on for sure. While I'm just doing the draws, if one of the speakers here doesn't mind grabbing the Nomo of the day, which is a pretty nice greasy horse, and pinning it up above, that would be great. Symbio or RFG.
Already on it.
Awesome. I have some winners, though. Everybody likes a winner, and I've got some winners for you. 3 winners to be exact. First of all, 2 winners of 0.069 ETH for folks who gave questions for Jesse in the thread yesterday. Just need a drum roll, and I will announce those winners. First winner is NFT Maniac .eth. So Dwayne, NFT Maniac ETH, his question: what is the plan for providing cross-chain interoperability with other blockchain networks? I didn't actually ask that question, but I think Jesse did answer it, so that's pretty cool. Another winner that we've got here, you won 0.069 ETH. Thank you so much for your question and for retweeting that, NFT Maniac. Second winner of the 0.069 ETH, Louis Not Kester. That's at Louis _S _S _. Wow, there must have been a lot of Louis that you couldn't get.
Wow.
Just Louis. he really woke up and chose violence that day. He's like, what Twitter handle could I choose that no one could ever remember what it is? And probably I couldn't either. And if I get locked out of my Twitter account, I'll never be able to get back into it. Louis Not Kester, congratulations. You won 0.069 ETH for your question. What inspired you to create Base, and what problems or needs does it aim to address? Again, I didn't get a chance to ask that question today, but I do think he kind of answered it in some of his other answers. So thank you both for your contributions, and for everyone else that provided community questions that I drew on today during the interview, and for getting the word out about it so many people could come and join and hear about it. Final draw. This is the retweet winner of the snow globe, the little snowy little noun. Floor price of about 0.16, but I don't think you want to. He's pretty beautiful. The retweeter who won that is howdarylrolls.eth. Howdarylrolls.eth. Have seen him around NARS. I think he's a member of NARS DAO, right?
Yeah, he's a NARS.
Wow, there you go. He's got a gnarly win today. He's got a NARS, now he's got a little now. Congratulations to him, and congratulations to everybody else who won today. Quick little bit of housekeeping on what's coming up on the Noun Square. As I mentioned, we host about 35 spaces a week. So coming up for the rest of the day, there's no more spaces until 9 p.m. tonight. At 9 p.m. tonight, speaking of NARS, we have the NARS DAO Jam session. Plus the daily drop with That's Gnarly. So there's a sub DAO of nouns that concentrates all on extreme athletes. And really cool people. If you want to come hang with them, that's at 9 p.m. EST. They always have a good show. Tomorrow, Friday, bright and early at 8 in the morning. Well, it's bright and early for us, but it's actually in the middle of the evening for Japan. At 8 a.m. EST and I believe 8 or 9 p.m. Japan Standard Time, we've got P-Nouns with their weekly Japanese multilingual space here on TNS. So if you want to hear about some of the things that are going on in the Nounish community over in Japan, that's a good one to tune into. At about 11:15, I think it'll be a.m. tomorrow, we've got our daily show, 9 o'clock live, that I mentioned earlier. This will be our 291st straight 9 o'clock live without missing since June 13th of last year, NBD. We're going to be talking to Reese from Polygon. Sounds like it's L2 week here on TNS. We talked about Base today with Jesse. Tomorrow we're talking about Polygon, another Ethereum scaling solution. And Reese is going to tell us everything that's new with Polygon. Right after 9 o'clock live, we've got Hack FM, which is a special pop-up space series that we've been doing this week. And while I'm asking you to pin, maybe Symbiotech or RFG, you could pin the Nouns Prop House tweet that shows all the hack week rounds. If you can find that, just search Nouns Prop Hack Week and you'll be able to find it. There is a hack week going on right now for Nouns with 99 ETH up for grabs. If you didn't know about it, now you know. Go to prop.house and go to the Nouns house and you'll see that there's 6 rounds that are open to pretty much anyone. If you're a dev, if you're an artist, if you're a content creator, there's even a category called IRL and weird stuff. So if there's something that you want to do that doesn't fit into any of the other categories, there's a category for that. And we've been doing a daily space at around noon to just go over all the stuff that people are hacking on this week. So if you're a builder and you want to share ideas with other builders, join us tomorrow at noon EST. Is Prop Culture happening tomorrow, Al? I don't think so, right? That's being melded with Lil Reps. Albert. Ding, ding. Sometimes you have to give him a microwave sound so he can hear you.
I heard my name, but I didn't hear the question. I just popped my AirPods out.
Is Prop Culture happening tomorrow at?
Yes. Yeah. No, we're still on for tomorrow.
My bad. So Prop Culture with Little Reps, my mistake, is happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. And they're going to be covering sort of some of the stuff that the little prop house spaces that used to be on Thursday was covering. That was my confusion. So tomorrow, 2 p.m., if you want to hear about little nouns, and the reps that vote with their big nouns, they own 16 big nouns. Tune in with them tomorrow at 2 p.m. At 4 p.m. tomorrow. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say we just picked our 2 winners. We're going to be splitting our vote, so we'll be announcing that tomorrow at our show.
2 winners for a prop house round?
Yeah. We're dividing our 16 noun votes in the prop house round between 2 different props.
Nice. And if anyone's not familiar with prop house, when you own 16 nouns, those votes go quite a long way in prop house, so that's a big deal.
Yeah, we have a 100% success rate so far.
Yeah, no bragging or anything, right?
No big deal.
After Prop Culture, we've got Builder Box with myself and Prof Werder, where we talk about Nouns Builder, which is a really cool tool built by Zora that allows you to spin up a DAO in a few minutes and make your own Nounish DAO. We get together to talk about that and some of the new DAOs on the block at 4 p.m. every Friday. Finally, we've got 8 p.m. Fill the Void with Jesse Rising from Food Nouns. Look, I wasn't kidding when I said we have like 35 spaces a week. So the schedule can get a little onerous. Best just to follow the clock, and you can keep abreast of all the awesome things that we are doing over here. And with that, I will bid you guys adieu. I hope you guys enjoyed this space. I was really excited for it, and actually a little bit nervous because big fan of Jesse and everything he's working on. So I hope I didn't fanboy too much, but I thought it was really great speaking to him.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Tony. Honestly, you did an awesome job facilitating and bringing some really interesting questions. Like, I feel like I didn't have to ask a single thing. It was honestly an awesome debate or discussion. So kudos to you as well.
Very cool, guys. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. I want to publicly apologize to MailChain, by the way. They requested to come on the stage earlier. I accidentally had to move, which is like the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. So sorry about that, MailChain.